Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of May 29th to June 4th, where I take a look at a couple of stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion about them. There won't be any video game or movie, TV show streaming review for this week, mostly because something came up and I have to sort of deal with it this week. So hopefully I'll have one by next week, but right now there isn't one available. There won't be any for this week though, to be exact. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, and this one kind of mostly focuses on this week. For this My 2 Cent will be mostly focused on Sony, as we had Sony's recent state of play though. We also have finally some gameplay and combat footage of Sonic Frontier though. Sony's response to one of the reasons why they have no desire or no plans to put, you know, their first party, do day one releases on their service, similar to what Microsoft is doing with GamePass though. And during the Star Wars celebration, we learned that basically the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order was announced though. Now, if you're interested in where I got a lot of these sources of this information though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents. Stories that somewhat caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one is, and this was announced during the Star Wars celebration, is that the sequel to Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, will be coming to the Nintendo Switch. I believe the first one is already out via, I think, the Nintendo eShop and all. So it's nice that they're bringing both of those games, which are considered like classic, like BioWare games and all, to the Nintendo Switch. It's really unfortunate we never got a Knights of the Old Republic 3. That would be really nice though, but given where BioWare is right now, which you know, after the whole situation with Anthem though, they really have to work hard to kind of rebuild their reputation and all. We also have an update on terms of the fact of what the next mainline Dragon Quest game is, from the developers, to be exact though. We do know that that's already been confirmed that the game will run on Unreal Engine 5. We don't know what systems it will be on at the moment though. It's unclear if will be coming to the Nintendo Switch or not. That said, we do know it's supposedly that Unreal Engine 5 will run on the Nintendo Switch. The last Dragon Age game did very well on the Nintendo Switch, and it's also, we don't know if by the time this game comes out, if Nintendo will have a revised version of a Switch, whether it's a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro, or if it's still the current Switch model that is out right now. We also learned that Nintendo is sort of fixing and patching some of their N64 games that have been released on the Nintendo Switch. The most recent one was the Kirby 64 game, which supposedly had a game-breaking bug in it, and so it seems as though Nintendo is aware of it and trying to fix it and all, which is certainly good, although I will admit at the same time, I question whether or not they were basically why didn't detect this bug in the first place though. We also learned that a fan made sort of like a Banjo-Kazooie trailer of what they think a Banjo 3 might be, to be exact, not the nuts and bolts, which not everyone was a fan of though. I really think that a game like that would be a great opportunity for Microsoft, especially if they want to bring in new audiences and all. Having a good solid 3D platformer like that would be great. I mean, look how well Psychonauts 2 did. That's a 3D platform, and how well that did. So I would love to see a third Banjo-Kazooie game, an actual third Banjo-Kazooie game, if it ever comes to fruition. Maybe they could get Toys for Bot, or maybe they could get Double Fine to do it though. So we'll have to see if it ever happens or not. We also learned that the upcoming free-to-play or mobile and now coming to PC, Diablo Immortal, is going to be banned in countries like Belgium and Netherlands, and this has to do with their loot box laws that have come out though. That game did not get a great response when it was first announced. Of course, the infamous you don't have phones, that statement is just right up with the infamous Don Matrix, who was a former head of the Xbox division at Microsoft, who said the infamous, if you don't have an internet connection, we have a system for you. It's called the Xbox 360. I mean, that was a dumb statement to make, but, well, seems as though right now the game will not be available in the Netherlands or Belgium at this time due to their loot box or gaming laws they have set up. We also learned that a YouTuber has been hit with like 500 music copyright claims for Nintendo and all. It's sort of, Nintendo's has a history of being very protective of their IPs. Sometimes I'm thinking they're right, sometimes they're not. And the decision to hit this YouTuber because of the music and all that stuff does bring up a whole lot of issues ranging from preservation of these musics to why doesn't Nintendo decide to release these music on, you know, like iTunes or Spotify, which I kind of agree with that. I mean, I've seen other companies releasing music from their games on those on iTunes or Spotify and all. I don't see why Nintendo can't do that. I think it is sort of a missed opportunity, though. We also learned that Super Nintendo World will be coming to Universal Studios here in Hollywood in 2023, though. My guess is sort of to build up hype for the Super Mario movie, which originally was supposed to come out this year, but got pushed back to 2023, and which I'm not, it's unfortunate, but then again, they never showed a trailer for that movie, so we don't even know how it looks or anything like that, though. I am curious to see if there's going to be any difference from what the one in Japan at Universal Studios in, I think, Tokyo, I think in Japan, though, what's the difference between the two? So I am kind of curious to be exact if there is going to be any changes to what it's going to be in Hollywood than it is going to be in Japan, though. And in terms of in the movie side or TV side, we have basically several articles, including about the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show, which I have been watching. I really enjoy what I've been seeing. The first one has to do with the show's being reviewed by Rotten Tomato and all, and some of it also stems from the fact that some people have made racist and inappropriate comments about basically one of the actors that plays, you know, one of the sisters or one of the female character that's hunting down Obi-Wan Kenobi, though. Look, if you don't like the show, that's fine, that's your opinion and all that stuff, but when it gets to the point of review bombing, which I will admit I'm not a fan of it, though, regardless of whether you think the game deserves to be review bombed or not. I'm not a fan of review bombing, though. I also am not a fan of those who are making these racist and inappropriate comments, though. Comments like that, I feel, basically adds to why people view the fandom as being toxic, and I think it is outright wrong, and I'm glad some people are speaking out against it, though. We also learned that basically Disney might be teasing the possibility of a season 2 for Obi-Wan Kenobi, though, which is kind of interesting because it does seem to start out as a limited series on Disney Plus, but hearing how it seems to be doing very well, though, it is possible that we could see season 2, although I'm kind of curious what direction they might go with a season 2, though. And last but not least, we have 2 trailers that were shown off this week. I think this week, though. One is the Star Wars Andor trailer. It's basically based on the character that was in Star Wars Rogue One, though, and sort of pushing for the rebellion against the Galactic Empire and all. So that one looks nice. And then a non-Star Wars one, and one that I think most of us are looking forward to, and what is considered, some are going to be calling it the greatest science fiction movie ever made. We saw the first trailer for Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, and I am looking forward to seeing this one on June 23rd when it comes on Paramount Plus, though. That is definitely one I am going to certainly be keeping out of it. I was a fan of Beavis and Butthead when I was growing up, and I still am a fan of it till this day and all. Okay, with the quick my 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with the announcement of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, though, one of the games that was announced during the Star Wars Celebration, and that is a sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a game that was developed by both Respawn Entertainment and published by EA. Now, this game came out back in 2019, though, and it came out at a time when basically the Star Wars license was not being handled by EA in pretty much the best of ways. So, Star Wars Battlefront, the first one, did not meet EA's expectations in terms of goals, though. And Star Wars Battlefront 2 created a whole set of controversy and opened up the debate about loot boxes, a situation that we saw with Diablo Immortal, where countries like Belgium and Netherlands has now outright banned that game, though, and basically it was a situation that forced EA and Disney to backtrack on the loot box situation following the public outcry, though. Combined with cancellation of several Star Wars games, including one called Project Ragtag that was headed up by Amy Hemington, I'm sorry if I'm not saying her name correctly, at a time at Visuals Games before EA shut that studio down and all. And when the Star Wars game Jedi Fallen Order came out, it was met with some warm receptions, but also people were cautious considering EA's push for loot boxes and microtransaction. And while the game is certainly good, and I certainly do think it is a good game, it's also a game I'm also angry at companies like EA and Disney because of the fact that it took them this long to make an actual good Star Wars game. There's so many materials that they could use it for, but instead they focus on live services, cash grabs, microtransactions, and loot boxes, though. And I still stand behind the position of the fact that had there been no controversies with the loot box and microtransactions in Star Wars Battlefront 2, I don't think Disney would have made that call to EA and tell them to remove it, though. It's only when, pardon my language, the shit hit the fan that they decided to do that, though. So it was sort of interesting to hear about basically Jedi Survivor being announced during this year's Star Wars Celebration, along with several other shows and even some games announced during the Star Wars Celebration, though. In an article published by The Verge, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, yeah, I am. It says, quote, during day 2 of the week-long Star Wars Celebration event, we got first look at a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order called Jedi Survivor, expected to launch in 2023 for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Cal Kestis, if I'm saying the name correctly, who happens to be the galaxy's least interesting Jedi, especially when CERE Judah is right there, is back kicking space fascist ass with the help of extremely cute droid helper BD-1. The Jedi Fallen Order series follows Cal as he works to rebuild the Jedi after the infamous Order 66. The sequel takes place 5 years after the original game and is once again described as a third-person, narrative-driven action-adventure game. One of the directors said the sequel will include some next-gen features as well, so most notably ray tracing support and faster loading time. The sequel to EA's best single-player game in the last 5 years was announced back in January, along with 2 other new Star Wars games that will be published by Titanfall 2 developer Respawn Entertainment. Now, the only thing that was shown during this celebration was just basically like a CGI trailer. It didn't look like we see excuse me, any gameplay or anything like that. So it's unclear at this time if there's going to be any change to the gameplay mechanics, though. Will there be any difference? Will there be new force powers? Will there be new adversaries? Will it still take the Souls-like approach that first Jedi Fallen Order did, or will they go in a completely different direction? So there's a lot of questions that still remain unanswered, including, and yes, being this is EA we're talking about, is there going to be push for microtransactions or loot boxes in the game, though? But at the same time, I am happy to see that that the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order called Jedi Survivor is being announced, though. I am looking forward to when this game comes out. Next year, though, I am kind of curious if there will be different kind of modes, like graphical modes, like a performance, or higher resolution or anything like that. We know they're going to add ray tracing and all, and of course, if there's going to be like any other characters we might see, like could Luke Skywalker make an appearance or anything like that. So, my overall takeaway from this is that I'm happy that they announced it, though. I'm looking forward to when this comes out in 2023, next year, though. But at the same time, there's still a lot of questions we don't know about in terms of Like I said, any changes to gameplay mechanics, to being it's EA, if there's going to be loot boxes or microtransactions in the game, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Jim Ryan responding to why you're not going to see day one releases on PlayStation Plus compared, or more of a comment on it, compared to what we see with Microsoft, with Xbox, with Game Pass and their service, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one we're going to be talking about Sony, particularly a response Jim Ryan has recently made in regards of the PlayStation Plus and all. So now most of you are aware of, Sony is working to basically revamp their PlayStation Plus system and all, and what we've been seeing lately is a push for different tiers, to having a lot of some of the classic PlayStation 2, and PSP games make their way as part of the collection, as part of PlayStation Plus. Recently it was reported in Asia that the games were running at 50 Hertz though, and that didn't sit well with a lot of folks, although recently it's been reported in Japan it has the games running at 60 Hertz, which has given some hopes of basically the game will run like that here in the West when the Surface finally comes out over here in the West though. Well, one of the things that some people are wondering is whether or not Sony will be releasing their games day one on PlayStation Plus, much similar to what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass, where games like Psychonauts 2 was released day one into the Surface though. Same with games like Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite though. Well, recently Jim Ryan has responded to this, and according to him, it doesn't seem like they're going to be going down that path, at least anytime soon at this very moment. In an article from Tweaktown that was published on the May 30th, it reads that, quote, "In a recent PlayStation investor briefing, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan outlined the next few years for PlayStation's new business model. Soon, PlayStation will follow Xbox and branch far outside the traditional console by expanding onto mobile and PC. We recently saw that with Spider-Man, the remaster, making its way over to the PC later this year, though. It's also revolutionizing its PlayStation Plus subscription by adding 2 new value-oriented tiers, PS Plus Extra, PS Plus Premium, with access to 740 games across 6 console generation. Though it's worth pointing out, PS3 will be only streaming only, and some of these games you may be able to purchase without being tied to these tiers though. Despite all these changes, one thing remains the same: premium games won't come to PlayStation Plus day one. In a recent Q&A session during the briefing, Jim Ryan gave some reasons to why PlayStation won't embrace the day-to-day release model used by Xbox Game Pass. In short, it all comes down to how Sony makes its money. Day one releases will eat into game sales that Sony depends on to reinvest into its business. And according to the statement by Tweaktown, this is what Jim Ryan had to say. Quote, "In terms of our assessment in what gamers want, it's quite simple. Gamers want great games. This is the first and overwhelming perspective that they have. How they are delivered is a secondary concern. I would say in its absolute term or in a relative term compared to our history or compared to anything that competitors are managing, that we have never been in a stronger place with PlayStation Studios than we are now. We anticipate that position of strength and excellence and will only continue and will only grow. We are in a virtuous cycle where success has allowed investment, which has generated more success, which allows us to invest more and will hopefully generate yet more success. That virtuous cycle, we feel, is that if we were to move to a different model, which involves putting our AAA games in a subscription service on day one, we feel that there is significant risk that virtuous cycle that we established so successfully will be compromised and potentially broken. We definitely feel that it is not in the best interest of the PlayStation gamer. That's our view on that particular issue. Now, some may or may not, some might disagree with what Jim Ryan has to say. Now, I will admit, I'm not a businessman, I'm not an expert. It's possible Jim Ryan knows a lot more than I would ever know, to be exact. So, to some degree, he could be right, and it is true that PlayStation doesn't have to exactly copy what Microsoft's doing with Game Pass. They could go their own route if they want to. That being said, though, I still think it's kind of a missed opportunity for them not putting their AAA games day one on PlayStation Plus, though, the way Microsoft is doing. And the thing is that I just like the approach Microsoft is doing with stuff like Game Pass, where they put their game on there day one, give you an opportunity to try it and determine if it's worth your time and money. Now, if it is, you get a discount to buy the game, and to be able to play that AAA game that they have available day one. And if you don't have the money at the time, though, but when you do, you'll be able to pay and get it, though, is great. I just think that Microsoft did a good job with this approach, though. Again, it's not 100% perfect. There are areas where I think Microsoft needs to do a better job and improve upon. Like, I would like to see more AAA games on the service, though. Don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with indie or AA games. Sometimes those games are better than AAA games, though. I'm not disputing that, but I think more AAA games are necessary, though. Perhaps maybe some of it has to do with the fact that Sony's budget for a lot of these games are big, and they won't get back the money that they need if they put it day one on the service. And that might be true, although that brings up the whole debate of how some of these development costs are ballooning though, and getting somewhat out of control to a certain degree, though. So I will say my takeaway on this is that I'm a little mixed on Jim Ryan's statement, though. He might be right, though. There might be a reason why they don't want to put their AAA games, you know, like day one on PlayStation Plus. But at the same time, I also can't dispute the fact that how Microsoft's approach to it is not bad either, and it might, you know, intrigue audience who are not sure of spending, you know, $60 on the game just yet, and wants to see if it's worth their time or money. So I would say I'm kind of mixed on Jim Ryan's response to this, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with the premiere of gameplay footage of Sonic Frontiers, both the combat part and the gameplay part. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Sonic Frontier, which this week, though, IGN showed off 2 videos, though. The first one was the gameplay footage, mostly of Sonic exploring this brand new area and all. And the second one was basically the combat footage that was just released on Friday, though. In terms of the exploration, though, some of the areas they showed was Sonic basically climbing or going to the top of like a tall building, though. Some parts had him like grinding on the rail and all, though. And there were certainly some puzzles that they showed off of Sonic trying to do, though. Most of the puzzles that they showed, at least in the gameplay part of the trailer, though, seem a bit simple, though. So I'm kind of curious to see whether or not this is, since it's supposedly in the beginning, though, I do wonder if that means later on in the game we might see tougher puzzles, though, or basically if there will be puzzles will be simple, though. And I'm kind of curious to see how this open world approach with Sonic, Sega is going to aim for, Sega and Sonic team are going to aim for with this one. It seems like the camera seems to be okay, though, but past 3D Sonic games, cameras can be kind of a hit and miss, and it's been one of my biggest beef I have with 3D Sonic games, though, compared to the 2D's one. So we'll have to wait and see how the camera plays out, though. As far as the combat goes, though, the combat seems to be all right, to be exact. Though, some of the enemies they showed were like the big, tall, like giant robot, though, and it showed certain patterns where basically when the robot stomps the ground, there are these blue circles you run through. You have to avoid some of these red circles to basically what looks like to be at the top of these giant robots, these like towers you're supposed to knock down. And it showed Sonic basically punching and kicking to doing certain special moves, though, to even fighting some of these smaller enemies, including these like small robot balls or something like that, though. And what's interesting is that each of these robots seem to drop basically what looks like blue tokens or something like that. Even in the gameplay, there were certain type of blue tokens Sonic were looking for. So I'm curious to see if that is basically building up Sonic's like special meter or anything like that for him to perform certain moves. Like supposedly this giant circle that Sonic does that basically has like these lightning that comes out that basically can, I think, either stop an enemy or open up one of their weaknesses, to be exact. So I will say, judging by both of these trailers that they showed off, though, the gameplay looks very promising, though. It looks like a step in the right direction, but still, I have some concerns of it because of this being, a 3D Sonic game. And as I said before, 3D Sonic games don't have the greatest reputation, to be exact. So, I mean, we've seen how, some people like to consider, like, Shadow the Hedgehog the worst Sonic game out there. Sonic 06 is another example. Sonic Forces, though, although I didn't hate Sonic Forces as much as some out there have made it turn out to be. So, it's really, I'm very concerned. I'm concerned that given Sega's obsession to make this the highest scoring 3D Sonic game out there, but there's so many ways they could screw this up, to be exact, though. I know we're seeing a lot of hype for Sonic this year. The Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie did very well at the box office. We got Sonic Origins coming up, although there's some criticism in terms of how they are handling the pre-order bonuses, and they got heavily criticized for that. And with this one, it seems as though the response, at least with the first trailer, the gameplay port, has sort of gotten a very much mixed response. Combat, again, some people think it's simple, some like it, some don't, though. I'm just concerned, to be exact, because I just feel like Sega is going to somehow screw this up, even though I know it shows some promises, it shows some potential and all, and I think it has all the potential of doing very well. It's just that I just can't shake that feeling that they are going to screw this up, though. Now, I could be wrong, and Sonic Team could actually get this game right and all that stuff, and there is always that possibility, but I just can't shake that feeling back in my head of how they could technically screw this up. One thing about the gameplay that they have yet to show is while it does look like this game is running on some of the next-gen hardware, though, we have yet to see how the game is going to run on the Nintendo Switch, and that also kind of concerns me a little bit as a Switch owner and a Nintendo fan myself. I would like to see how this game is going to run and play on a system like the Nintendo Switch, though, and because I'm a little concerned that the Switch is being treated as an afterthought, and we could get a kind of situation we saw with when they ported over Sonic Colors and how that was handled and how they had to put out multiple patches to fix that game, especially after how Blind Squirrel has handled it, though. Side note, though, I don't think any developer should let Blind Squirrel handle a Switch port ever again. We've seen how they handle WWE 2K18. We've seen how they handle Sonic Colors, though. I don't trust them. I don't think they should be handling Switch ports going forward, to be exact. They have failed to prove that they can handle Switch ports or anything like that. So I do have some concerns about the Switch version. I would like to, hopefully we'll see some gameplay of how the Switch version does. I hope that version holds up well, but again, I have some concerns, to be exact. So overall, I think there's potential in Sonic Frontiers. I think what they show so far is not bad, and I think it shows that that it does seem like they're trying to go in the right direction for this, and I give them credit for that, but we've been burned before about Sonic Team and how they handle 3D Sonics, though. And I just have a feeling there's so many ways they are screwing this. They could screw this up very easily, especially with their obsession of trying to make this the highest score 3D Sonic game, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with Sony's State of Play for June 2nd, 2022. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 4th and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Sony's State of Play. They just recently had theirs for the first week of June and all, sort of kicking off what would have been, you know, E3, which sadly, unfortunately, it's not happening this year to be exact, though. So we're just going to see what Sony has to offer, and while not all of their games are going to be PlayStation exclusives, some are basically going to make their way over to, like the Xbox Series S and X, though. I will say, based on what they showed so far, was not bad, though. I mean, I'm not saying it was perfect, though, but it certainly wasn't bad based on what they showed off, to be exact. First thing first is that they kicked it off by showing off basically the Resident Evil 4 remake, the long-rumored game that Capcom was basically working on, though, and supposedly we know that game is being reimagined and all, and it's also going to be coming to the PC and Xbox Series X and S, though. Judging by what the footage they showed so far, it definitely looks very impressive, though. Resident Evil 4 still remains one of my favorite entries in the series, though, but at the same time, it also basically certainly raises some questions about them reimagining it, though. What are they going to change around and all that stuff? Will Ashley or Ada Wong play a much bigger role than they did when Resident Evil 4 came out back in 2005? Though, could other characters make an appearance on it, though? And could there be a change to the combat, considering that Resident Evil 4 was more action-oriented compared to how basically, past Resident Evil games, to be exact. So there's still some questions to ask, though, but judging by what they showed so far, it looks nice. Plus, it's running on the RE engine, which doesn't really surprise me. That engine that Capcom has made has been very successful for them so far, ranging from smaller titles like, say, Ghouls and Goblins Resurrection, though, to games like, say, like triple games like Resident Evil, Resident Evil Village, to even on the Switch with Monster Hunter Rise and all. So this is definitely one I'm keeping an eye out for, though. So that's one I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. Like I said, still some questions, but nevertheless, looking forward to that one. They did show off basically some VR with Resident Evil Village, which, again, not surprised considering that Resident Evil 7 made its way to the PlayStation VR, so this isn't really a surprise for me or anything like that. Again, I'm not a VR person, though, so I have really no desire to pick up the PlayStation VR. Other folks out there may be, and if that's your thing, that's your thing. They did also announce a couple of other VR games like The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Chapter 2, Retribution, to No Man's Sky for PlayStation VR, and of course Horizon Call the Mountain was announced for the VR, though. We also learned that basically, along with that announcement, they also announced that Horizon Forbidden West is getting some new updates, though. Basically a new Game Plus and difficulty mode. No story DLC at this time, though, which is a little bit of a bummer, but, hey, it's nice that the game's getting free updates and all. They also showed off Spider-Man Remastered, which they announced that will be coming to the PC, which will be out on August 12th. So that's certainly nice for PC owners out there. There's also confirms that Spider-Man Miles Morales will also follow, though, which if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised at some point we hear Spider-Man 2 make its way over to the PC as well. So Though I'm not a PC gamer, though, I'm sure we'll see if some PC gamers out there are happy to hear about this announcement, though. They also showed off some gameplay of the game Stray, which is an interesting indie title, though, that's supposed to come out July 19th. We looked at, basically, they show up some gameplay of the Dead Space-like horror game, the Callisto Protocol, and that's going to come out on December 2nd. I believe this is another game heading over to the Xbox Series S and X as well. They showed off, Private Division showed off the game Roller Drome, which definitely liked the art style, and I also liked, you definitely got a little bit of an 80s vibe to it, to be exact, though. This will be out August 16th. That one looks nice. They showed off what is basically an anime title, which is an action game with a dating sim called Eternal Nights. That will be out next year, though. It looks interesting, to be exact, but I'll have to see more of that one, though. The other one is the other big Capcom reveal is basically Street Fighter 6, though, and it certainly looks like there will be a battle hub, and you'll be exploring the areas of Metro City, though. It's set for supposedly set for next year, and this one will be out also on the Xbox Series X and S, so it's not going to be exclusive to the PlayStation systems, much like how Street Fighter V was, though. And supposedly, if I'm hearing this correctly, they're going to be introducing some new characters to basically, it's going to be running on the RE engine, for what I've been hearing, though. Again, don't know if that's confirmed or not, but wouldn't surprise me if that turns out to be true, though. They showed off that Tonic will be coming over to the PlayStation 4 and 5 on the September 27th, which is fine. I enjoy Tonic on the Xbox Series S, though. Hopefully when it comes to the PlayStation systems, that folks over there enjoy it as well. They showed off a game called Seasons, A Letter to the Future, though. It looks like a point-and-click type of a game, to be exact. So certainly not bad as well. And they rounded it off with showing off some gameplay and some updates with basically Final Fantasy 16 with a summer 2023 release window, though. So I would have to say my takeaway from this Sony state of play, though, was it was good. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was good, though. I was a little worried that they would be focusing maybe too much on the PlayStation VR type. That was one of the criticisms that they got when they started their first state of play. But I will say I thought this was very nice, though. Sadly, we didn't get any God of War Ragnarok information, which is a little bit unfortunate, though. And some games that won't be out next year, we only saw little snippets and didn't really show off a whole lot of the gameplay here and there. But I definitely liked what I saw at this state of play. This was, I think, very good for Sony, though. I think it was certainly nice, especially for those who are PC gamers. They're going to be getting the Spider-Man games. They're going to be coming to the PC systems, though. So my takeaway from this is that this was a good, basically, state of play. Not perfect, but good nevertheless, though. We're going to have to figure out next week, supposedly next week, when Microsoft and Bethesda holds their event, to see what they have to show, and hopefully we'll hear from Nintendo soon, though. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the announcement of Star Wars Jedi Survivor? Are you looking forward to this game, though? Are you glad they're doing a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, though? Are you curious to see what other Star Wars games Respawn Entertainment might be working on? What are your thoughts about Jim Ryan's decision why they're not releasing their games day one on PlayStation Plus? Do you agree with Jim Ryan on this, or do you disagree with Jim Ryan on this? What are your thoughts about some of the footage they showed of Sonic Frontier so far? Has that made you more interested in this game? Or do you have some concerns about it, though? Do you think the game will turn out fine? Or do you fear that Sonic Team can easily screw this up? And what are your thoughts about Sony's state of play, though? Do you think this was a good state of play in any way? Were you happy with some of the announcements, like the Resident Evil 4 remake? Were there other games you wish that they had announced at Sony's state of play, though? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.